Suck it, nerds. How's it going, YouTube? It is Vengeful Shadows here, and we're going to do a real quick video about the ban list prediction. And a little bit late to the party. I know there's been already a bunch of predictions up, and we should honestly be getting the ban list really soon. And if not, that's going to be actually like really surprising, because as a lot of you know, we've gotten 2 Master Duel ban lists and 2 OCG ban lists in the time we have yet to get a TCG ban list. Okay, so that's honestly super, I wouldn't say exciting, but it makes a lot of people excited, obviously, for the list that we're about to hopefully be getting, and probably be seeing some changes to the meta. And you know, it's kind of a debate if it's going to be like massive changes this list or next list, but we're about to be seeing some changes definitely to the game. And you can just tell that by the cards that they've been releasing and kind of like seeing them introduced into the game, such as Runic and all the quick play spells that they've been giving us and such. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to get into the list. And first off, we're going to be going with cards that I honestly think will be unlimited. And these are just cards I think that KONAMI will do, not necessarily like healthy for the game good, but cards I think that like Konami is going to be putting up to 3 or banning and such. Okay, so unlimited, I think cards such as Yugioh are becoming back to 3. Konami likes to test the waters, putting banned cards to 1, seeing if we use them, if we can break them again. Yugioh back in the day was insane with the Yada lock, but with modern Yu-Gi-Oh, it's really hard to completely eradicate an opponent's board and hand without dedicating your normal summon. So with Yada being a spirit, he can't be special summoned. You have to dedicate the normal summon to Yugioh, which already puts him behind in the power. So I just feel like we're going to be seeing him put to 3, and if a deck comes around to like make use of him, I think they're going to welcome that, in fact. And unless it's broken, we're probably just going to keep Yada at 3. Danger, okay, the snake, I could definitely be seeing them put to 3. They've been kind of testing again the waters with all the other dangers, putting them kind of past 1, past 2, back up to 3, seeing how the power creep goes. And since Monster Mash is still like decently heavy, but really mainly remains with the Dragon Link combos, I think, you know, things like Dangers and Thunder Dragons will start to be crept back into their full power, because like essentially like the deck's been nerfed as well as power crept out of the format. So I think Snake could definitely go to 3 and just help a lot of decks, you know, like kind of like PK Fire and stuff without necessarily breaking the meta. And another card that I think could go back to 3 as well, as I would love to see go back to 3, would honestly be the Nadir Servant. The Nadir package in Dogmatica altogether was super strong when it came out, definitely devastating the meta altogether with the resource control that it had and all the generate, like how you could just constantly generate the resources back, and just made mad pluses, especially starting with Nadir Servant and TS Pop, Search, Summon, get the Dogmatica. Super good, super good. But Nadir Servant now, it's really nice in those decks, but locking you out of your special summon for the rest of the turn, and normally you end up going into a Dogmatica punishment after the Ecclesia, so then that locks you out of your extra deck for like another turn. You know, this is modern Yu-Gi-Oh, where you're summoning a bunch from the extra deck, so it's good for control decks, good thing for things like Eldritch that side with the Dogmatica, but I think Nadir Servant could easily go back to 3. Okay, now cards that I think will be semi-limited, okay, going to 2, all right? And so there's some weird ones, some debatable ones, but I think cards such as Called by the Grave will be going back to 2. I think we're going to be seeing a shift of Called by going back to 3 altogether, but I think they're going to be putting it back to 2 first. A lot of people say Called by needs to either be banned or at 3, because at 1 it feels like you're just sacking people. So I think they're going to add the consistency, kind of like how in Master Duel they added it to 2. We're not necessarily opening it every game to out the hand traps, but you might open it a decent amount where the opponent knows that you're going to probably have an out to their hand trap, whether that be a Gamma or a Called by the Grave, so you have to not just rely on a single hand trap to take out the opponent. Okay, so I think Called by going back to 2 is something that we're going to be seeing, and if not this list, very soon, but I can see Called by going past 1 very soon here, and I think it will be in a way healthy for the game. Not only does it stop hand traps, but it stops cards in the graveyard like Eldritch, like the Ronin Totems, things like that. Mind Control, this card again, again, this will be moving from 1 to 3 at some point in time. I think they're going to test it at 2. We have failed the change of heart test. Okay, they gave us stat steal a while back, immediately took it back because it was insane. Now they gave us change of heart. Okay, and honestly, I wish they never eroded brain control, but whatever. So change of heart at 1. Some people play it, but not really. It doesn't help with your combos most of the time. So I think we're going to be seeing mind control go from 1 to 2, where, you know, just decks that, again, monster mash, that just take your monster link with it, can run it. But I mean, they already got a change of heart, not even using it. So I think mind control going to something we'll be seeing in the future. Another one I want to cover as well, Upstart Goblin. It's great in the Sky Striker deck, great in, you know, some 40 card decks where you that spell card in the graveyard is nice. Some OTK decks or decks that would attempt to OTK, they want to keep their deck real thin. It's nice, but I think it's another one of those cards that in previous Yu-Gi-Oh formats, Upstart was insane, especially with Sky Strikers at their pinnacle. But now that the game has power crept past that, a lot of people aren't even playing, you know, 40 cards necessarily anymore. Upstart Goblin is definitely one of those cards we can see move back past the limited to 1, back into semi, and hopefully back into the unlimited altogether. Okay, again, only deck that's really gonna insanely abuse it, if you want to even consider it abuse, is Sky Striker, but I don't think we got to really worry too much about that, like breaking the game from Upstart Goblin. Red Reboot. I think it just went to 2 on Master Duel, if I'm correct. I'm not sure, but Red Reboot at 2, I think is going to be definitely something we see, especially with the floodgates happening, how they've been, everyone's, like, a lot of people running a rivalry, a lot of people running the Gozens. We're seeing a lot of Rogue pop up, some Eldritch players return, especially with Runic being as popular as it is. So having Red Reboot is very essential, and especially if you're playing against a Mind player who has all the outs face down, and like that's the joke, right? Like draw the out, and then when you play the out, you get outed with the Solemn Judgment or Dark Bribe. Well, with Red Reboot, you draw the out, you got the reboot, you play the out, you reboot their out to your out, completely wipe their entire, you know, their outs, you know, out. Probably with the Harpy's Feather Duster, wipe the back row, reboot the Solemn, you know, face down. Even if they set another one, all their back row's gone. They lost half their life points, and you're probably going to be swinging for a game with like Sprite or something. So Red Reboot is gonna be really big going against a lot of the rogue decks, and I think it will be coming back to 2. And I wouldn't be surprised if Called By and Reboot, after going to 2, wouldn't be seeing like an OTS reprint, either as supers or as a common, you know, because those are 2 cards. I mean, Called By could get an ulti, but those are 2 cards I think that we'll even be seeing some reprints of, on top of them being brought back to 2. And last but not least on the list, with sprites being super good, I think they're gonna be hitting the engine a little bit, putting Swap Frog to 2, not that I want this. I love Swap Frog at 3. I think it's great, but I think they're going to hit the engine a little bit in consistency by putting it to 2. I was debating if it would be a Swap Frog hit or a Ronin hit. They would honestly just put Ronin to 1, but that might be some crazy stuff they would do in like OCG. Here, it's just going to get banished and it would kill the engine altogether. It just wouldn't be worth it. So I think Swap Frog would be the hit that it'd be kind of like the Konami thing, honestly. So those are cards I think that would be going to 2. And if you guys are liking what you're seeing or getting any enjoyment out of this, do consider hitting that sub button, following on the Twitter. We also got a Twitch as well, but we do a lot of other streaming on the Twitch, so Twitter is the Yu-Gi-Oh place. So cards I think will be going to 1. Okay. Demise of the Land. Now, everyone knows Mystic Mind's pretty crazy right now. It's in a fair amount of decks. It's in a lot of rogue, and there's a lot of Runic running around right now, and Demise is scary. Mine is scary. When your opponent can't mine during your turn and you're setting up for an Omni Negate that's going to kill the mine and kill a bunch of stuff, honestly, the biggest thing you're worrying about is Demise of the Lands and Metaverse. I'm not necessarily certain if mine's going to be getting banned this list entirely, but I do think Demise of the Land would, if not mine, it would be Demise of the Land getting the chopping block, getting put to 1, where it's kind of like 1 Metaverse, 1 Demise of the Land, 1 Terraforming, and then you have your 3 field spells. And I think that is something that Konami is going to go into. And I think, given with how we're seeing Runics and a lot of the other decks kind of play out, Konami, in a way, is going back to the back and forth rhythm of the duel, or is a multi-turn duel, whether we like that or not. And having floodgates, having trap cards, having things that your opponent is afraid of is a way to make it where they can't just dump everything on turn one, or it's beneficial for them to not dump everything turn one. And that's the thing, is it's risk versus reward. And it will kind of be helpful given this, where it's like they can dump everything knowing there's not a demise, but the payout is they can still get mined. So I think demise going to one is something we'll be seeing, especially with it being a quick play and Runics. And for Pendulum Best Deck, I think we're going to be seeing Electromite come off the list. I really do. I think we're going to be seeing Electromite come off. They gave us Beyond the Pendulum. No one's really playing it. Pendulums have been kind of lacking for quite some time. And I think they're going to be giving us more support. On top of them being monsters, they are spell cards, so their Pendulum effects can't really be getting around a lot of that mind stuff. So it'll be really nice to see how that works. And like I said, I think Electromite will be coming back, and we're going to be getting some Pendulum support here in the future. As you know, if you're keeping up with some OCG releases, we're going to be getting Pendulum support. And I think they're just going to start pushing Pendulum slots out. So Electromite to 1 would be very exciting to see. And of course, what everyone's honestly been waiting for is what would be banned next format. Okay, and instead of a huge list and Mystic Mine, I honestly think it's going to be Halka-Febrax. And we saw him get hit in Master Duel. It's an insane card. I love the card, and I love the consistency it has actually like added to the game since it came out. Like, a lot of decks have really good consistency because Halk's effect to search any of the targeted tuners from the deck. Okay, and then not only that, but if you know, your deck revolves around it, you can summon the synchro from the extra deck and get some really good plays off with the second ability as well. But unfortunately, I think with a bunch of the combos and extenders going forward, Halka-Febrax might be seeing the chopping block. And honestly, I'm not saying it's going to be both. I think it's going to be a one or the other. If Halk does not go, and they want to keep Halk around, I think the only other option they would have at that point would be the Chaos Ruler, okay? Because A, he's ran, well, in a bunch of decks right now, including Punk. He's ran in things like Tier Element. He's just a huge extender. You get to Excavate 5, get one Lighter Dark to the hand, which is insane. And then the ones that go to the grave, half the time you get effects off and you can use them as well. So if they want to keep Halk around, which adds consistency to the deck, they would take out one of the other consistency adding cards, which just adds massive resources, massive consistency, and that's all aside from him just reviving himself again. So if Halk stays around, I think it would be at the cost of Chaos Ruler. But if Chaos Ruler stays around, I do believe it will be Halka-Febrax that would be banned. So guys, I'm not sure if you agree, disagree. If you have anything that I should have added or any comments like that, definitely hit that down below, comment down below. If you like the video, again, do consider hitting that subscribe and sharing it. Sharing it really, really, really helps get the word out. Again, guys, we got that Twitch, we got the Twitter, and as you're watching now, we got YouTube, and we're always on Dueling Book main menu for you guys there. We love you. Thanks for hanging out with us. And everyone else, stay safe. And again, suck it, nerds.